Hello and welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is Saturday, January 24th, 2026. Today we are looking at a story that, frankly, feels a bit like an automotive resurrection. We're talking about a comeback kid scenario that, most industry analysts probably wouldn't have bet on 5 years ago.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah.
It really is the definition of a long shot paying off.
Yeah.
We're looking at a nameplate that has been, effectively dead or at least completely absent for 4 decades. But it's back this year, and it's not just some kind of nostalgia play.
Right. We are, of course, talking about the return of the Lancia Gamma. Now, before you tune out thinking, oh, great, another heritage brand slapping a badge on some generic SUV, just stop right there. That is not what's happening here. This is Lancia's new flagship, and it is, I would argue, the most critical piece of the puzzle in what Stellantis is calling the Lancia Renaissance.
Right. We saw the Ypsilon launch back in 2024, which was sort of the appetizer. We know the Delta, the big fan favorite, is coming in 2028. But the Gamma is the main course. It's the anchor. And our mission today is pretty specific. We're not here to read you a brochure or to hype this up. We want to cut through all that marketing noise and just present this car simply. What is it? What powers it? And, why does its existence signal a pretty major shift in strategy for its parent company, Stellantis?
Exactly. Just the facts with a little bit of context. To get those facts, we've pulled from a stack of sources, official announcements from Stellantis Media, reports from Car Scoops and Motor Authority, and some detailed spec sheets from Dow Motors. So let's unpack this. What exactly is the 2026 Lancia Gamma?
Well, I think the first thing to understand is the form factor. Like you said, in a market just absolutely saturated with SUVs, Lancia has chosen to go with a fastback.
Okay, let's clarify that term, because for a lot of people, fastback just makes them picture an old Mustang. What does it mean here?
Think of it as a silhouette that attempts to blend two worlds. You get the practicality of a sedan, four doors, a decent trunk, but it has that sloping, really sleek roofline of a coupe. It just tapers off at the back.
So it's slippery, aerodynamic, which,
Mm.
with the physics of EVs, that's becoming super important again.
Very. It's essentially a reaction to what I'd call the brick problem. SUVs are like bricks. They push a lot of air, and that just kills your range. A fastback cuts through it. And size-wise, the Gamma is substantial, but it's not a tank. It's about 4.7 meters long, so roughly 185 inches.
So to give people a mental picture, that's about the size of
A BMW 4 Series Grand Coupe or an Audi A5 Sportback. It's positioned directly against that premium executive segment, not the big family hauler SUV market at all.
That's a really interesting choice. It feels like everyone else is going taller, and Lancia is deliberately staying lower to the ground.
It's very intentional. They're calling the whole aesthetic philosophy Italianness 2.0, or another term they use is sustainable elegance.
Italianness 2.0. I have to say, that sounds a little bit like marketing bingo. What does that actually look like on the car?
Well, it draws heavily from a concept car they showed a while back, the Pew plus Raw HPE. So you'll see a kind of wedge-like shape, which is a classic Lancia callback. It has these round taillights, very reminiscent of the Stratos, actually, and a really distinct Y-shaped motif on the front for the daytime running lights.
It's distinctive then. You won't mistake it for something German.
No, you won't. And speaking of that, the colors seem to be keeping it very traditional. We aren't seeing like neon greens or matte purples here.
No, the palette is strictly classic Italian. You've got Bianco, Nero, Grigio, Blue, and Rosso, white, black, gray, blue, and red. They are leaning so hard into that heritage luxury image, they want this to look grown up.
For sure.
Okay, now let's open the door and get inside, because reading the press materials, they keep using this phrase, the living room. They want the interior to feel like the living room of an Italian house. Now, I love a nice sofa, but I'm not sure I want to be driving my sofa at 80 miles per hour.
It's a bold concept, for sure. They've really moved away from that cockpit feel where everything wraps around the driver. This is more open, more furniture-like. They're using a lot of recycled and sustainable materials to create these high-end textures that feel more like home decor than car plastic. It's all about horizontal lines and open space.
That sounds comfortable, but how do you control everything? Because usually, living room at car means we took away all the buttons and hid them in a touchscreen.
You've pretty much hit the nail on the head. This brings us to a piece of tech they call the S.A.L.A. system.
S.A.L.A., which, for English speakers just sounds like a salad.
Right, but it stands for Sound Air Light Augmentation. It's basically their attempt to declutter the whole experience. So instead of 50 different buttons for the climate and the radio and the lights, S.A.L.A. centralizes it. The driver can control the audio, the climate, and the lighting with a single touch or a voice command. The idea is you change the mood of the room instantly.
See, that's where I get a little skeptical. On paper, that sounds very zen. In practice, I worry I'm going to be digging through 3 submenus just to turn the fan down because the car thinks I'm in relax mode when I'm actually just hot.
It's a valid concern. I mean, the success of the car will depend so much on the logic and the speed of that software. If it lags, it's a deal breaker. But if it's seamless, it could be a game changer for cabin design. Lancia insists it's about simplicity.
Ideally, yeah. So that's the look and feel. But for me, this is where it gets really interesting, what's going on under the hood, or I guess under the floorboards. Because the engineering strategy here, that's the biggest news story.
This is the strategic pivot. So the Gamma sits on the STLA Medium platform.
And just to set the context, that's the spine that Stellantis is using for a lot of cars, right? Like the new Peugeot 3008 and the Jeep Compass.
Exactly. It's a modular architecture. It's tested. It's proven. But the big news, the thing that has all the industry watchers talking, is the powertrain choice. If you looked at Lancia's plans a couple of years ago, the Gamma was supposed to be an electric vehicle, period. End of story.
Right, the EV only from 2026 pledge. That was supposedly written in stone.
Correct. But late in 2024, they made a pretty significant course correction. The 2026 Gamma is indeed launching as an EV, but it is also launching with a hybrid version alongside it.
Wow, that is a massive shift. Why the sudden change of heart?
It just comes down to pragmatism, really. Stellantis and Lancia looked at the real market demands. The adoption curve for pure EVs has been, let's say, different than predicted in some regions, especially in southern Europe where the charging infrastructure still lags a bit behind the north. By offering a hybrid, they can satisfy different needs. If you live in an apartment in Rome without a charger, you can still buy the flagship Lancia.
It guarantees higher production volumes, it keeps the factory running, keeps the brand competitive. It almost feels like admitting defeat on the original timeline, but from a business standpoint, it sounds like survival.
It is absolutely a survival move. But let's look at the EV specs first, because despite that pivot, the numbers on the electric side are actually really impressive. We are not talking about a city car here.
No, from what I'm seeing in the Dell Motor specs, this is entering best-in-class territory.
It is. The electric Gamma, with the larger battery option, which is up to 98 kilowatt-hours usable, is rated for up to 700 kilometers on the WLTP cycle.
700 kilometers, let's do the math on that. That is roughly 435 miles. That is, wow, that's a real road trip. That's not just commuting.
It effectively eliminates range anxiety for, I'd say, most users, and it's efficient, too. They are projecting energy consumption of less than 14 kilowatt-hours per 100 kilometers.
Can you contextualize that number for us?
Yeah.
Is 14 good?
It's excellent for a car of this size. Most SUVs in this class are chewing through like 18 or 20 kilowatt-hours. This efficiency goes right back to that fastback shape we talked about. It's just physics winning over styling trends.
And when you do have to plug in.
It uses a 400-volt architecture for fast charging. Now, some competitors are moving to 800-volt systems, which are even faster, but the 400-volt setup on this platform is robust. You're looking at charging from 20 to 80% in roughly 25 to 30 minutes.
Which is perfectly adequate for a coffee break. And what about power? Is it fast?
It's brisk. The estimates put the power output between about 230 and 350 horsepower, depending on whether you get the single or dual motor version. So you're looking at a 0 to 60 time in the mid 5-second range.
Which frankly is plenty fast for a living room on wheels. I mean, it's faster than a Ferrari from the 80s, but in today's EV world, sensible.
Precisely. It's not trying to be a track car, it's an effortless cruiser.
And then there's the hybrid. Do we know much about that setup yet?
The details are a little bit scarcer there. We know it will likely be a mild hybrid, probably a 1.2 or 1.6 liter turbo engine paired with an electric motor. You can probably expect the base versions to be around 145 to 150 horsepower.
That sounds adequate. I guess it depends on the car's weight.
It's definitely the more sensible choice for, say, fleet buyers or people who do huge highway miles where charging can be tricky. It's the safety net option.
Okay, so we have a handsome Italian fastback, flexible engine options, a solid platform. But let's talk about where it comes from, because Lancia implies Italy, but in today's world, badges don't always match the factory dress.
That's a great point. But in this case, they do match. This is a crucial part of the story. The Gamma is being built at the Melfi plant in southern Italy.
And that's a big deal for Stellantis, isn't it?
Huge. Stellantis invested $2 billion into Italian production to make this happen. Melfi is a historic site. For Lancia, this isn't just about a badge, it is physically Italian-made. It strengthens those roots, the brand, identity, and it makes the marketing story a lot easier to sell to the Italian public.
Now, I have to bring this up, because if I don't, Our listeners who remember the 70s will scream at their speakers. We need to talk about the original 1976 Gamma. It was beautiful, Pininfarina design, but reliability.
Ah, yes, the elephant in the room, the original Gamma. It had a reputation. The Boxer engine was unique, but it had its quirks.
Quirks is a very polite way of putting it. It was a mechanical heartbreaker. I remember reading about the power steering pump being driven by the cam belt. So if you turn the wheel to full lock on a cold morning, the load could snap the belt and your engine would just destroy itself.
That is the legendary design flaw, yes. And the rust. Rust was a major enemy. It was a car that you loved when it worked, which wasn't always.
So the big question, is the 2026 Gamma going to leave us stranded on the side of the autostrada?
The modern promise is completely different. This is where that shared platform is so important. The STLA Medium platform isn't some quirky one-off Lancia experiment. It's industrialized at a massive scale. It's used by Peugeot, Opel, Jeep. The components are stress-tested globally in millions of vehicles.
So the quirkiness has been engineered out of it.
Exactly. And specifically on the EV components, the analysis shows the batteries and motors are designed for a useful life of 10 to 15 years or 250,000 kilometers while still maintaining 80% capacity.
That is a world away from the 1970s.
And even just from a maintenance perspective, the EV version has so few moving parts. You aren't worrying about timing belts or head gaskets. The cost of ownership should be much lower.
That is reassuring.
Mm.
Okay, so we know what it is and that it probably won't fall apart. But who is this actually for? Who is putting down a deposit for a Lancia Gamma in 2026?
Lancia has a term for them. The progressive professional.
Sounds fancy. Who are they?
Think about the person who has maybe grown out of the flashy sports car phase, but really doesn't want to succumb to the boxy SUV life. They want something distinctive. It's also for the ex-Lancia fans, people who love the brand and have been waiting for something worthy of the badge.
And tech-savvy families, too, I'd imagine, if you need the space but you still want style.
Exactly. It's an alternative choice. It signals that you value design and aesthetics over just pure utility.
So who is it fighting against? If I have, say, 50 or 60,000 euros to spend, what else am I test driving?
You're looking at the BMW 4 Series Grand Coupe, the Mercedes SAIL-A, maybe the Audi A5. And on the electric side, you're definitely cross-shopping the Tesla Model 3 and the Polestar 2.
That is a tough crowd. Those are some very established players.
They are. But Lancia has a really interesting ambition here. They expect 50% of sales to come from outside of Italy.
Oh, wow. So this isn't just a domestic hero car.
Not at all. This marks a major pushback into the broader European market. France, Spain, Germany, Belgium. They're reopening showrooms across the continent. However, for our listeners in North America, I wouldn't hold your breath.
No plans for the U.S.?
No, there are currently no plans to bring Lancia back to the U.S. It's strictly a Eurocentric revival for now.
Sorry, America. You'll just have to admire this one from afar. Now, before we wrap up, you mentioned an HF version. For anyone who knows rally history, those two letters mean a lot.
They do. HF stands for high fidelity, and it's legendary. Lancia has teased that a Gamma HF Integrale is expected in 2027.
Integrale. That brings back memories of the Delta just dominating rally stages. Is this just a trim package with some red stickers?
No, this is expected to be a proper performance overhaul. We're talking around 400 to 500 horsepower, all-wheel drive, and a wider, more aggressive stance. It's a clear nod to that rally heritage. It gives the lineup a real halo car that isn't just about living room comfort.
So if the standard Gamma is the elegant cruiser, the HF is the weekend weapon.
That's the idea. And even if you buy the base hybrid, you feel a bit cooler just because the HF exists. It creates a halo effect for the whole range.
Okay, so let's summarize what we've learned today. We have the 2026 Lancia Gamma. It's a stylish, Italian-made fastback that's bucking the SUV trend. It offers a massive 700-kilometer electric range, but it's kept a hybrid option to stay flexible for real-world buyers.
It's a pragmatic, but I think beautiful approach to a brand revival. It leverages the huge resources of Stellantis, the platform, the factory, but wraps it all in a design that feels genuinely Italian. It's cutting through the noise, not by shouting the loudest, but by just offering something truly elegant.
And it leaves me with a final thought, something for you, the listener, to consider. We've spent the last decade watching cars get taller, boxier, heavier. The SUV has been king. But here comes Lancia, reviving the fastback. Is this a sign? Are we seeing a return to aerodynamics and efficiency over sheer bulk?
I think it connects to the bigger picture of energy efficiency. Whether it's electrons or gasoline, pushing a brick through the air takes more energy.
Hmm.
A lower, sleeker silhouette isn't just about style anymore, it's about range, it's about sustainability. The Gamma might just be leading a trend back toward the Aero sedan.
Something to mull over the next time you're stuck in traffic, surrounded by giant SUVs. We really want to say a huge thank you for tuning in today. We know you have a million things to listen to, and we really appreciate you giving us your time and attention to geek out over this new piece of Italian automotive history.
Yes, grazie to everyone listening. It's always a pleasure to dive into these topics with you all.
That's it for this deep dive on the Lancia Gamma. We'll catch you on the next one.